Shall we, some of this may be muddy, folks. Watch out for muddy waters.
Okay, so that's what they called Lower Mill, and it stood just across the valley there. The water to power it came from further north, so it's nowhere near the River Leen, and in fact they must have had an enormous problem because the tail race from this was about 10 to 12 feet deep in a rock cutting, because this was built on solid magnesian limestone, so there's no foundation for it at all. It was built straight on the ground. And built off the limestone. So that was that. We know quite a bit about the mill for two different reasons. One is that somebody did a description of it who was a rival about to set up another mill and actually wrote in some detail about what happened on each floor and how many people were employed. And he says that there were 2,000 spindles. Now each machine needed so many spindles, so they were driving 2,000 spindles. Now, by looking at the insurance value of the mill and looking at the insurance value of the other mills, the Robinsons had 4 mills of 2,000 spindles by that reckoning. They also had 3 smaller mills as well. And they built at this site and at the site further north that we're going to, they built little colonies for their workers. This would have been deeply rural in the 1780s. In due course, the Robinsons fell out with Lord Byron, not the poet, but his uncle. Byron was destitute and wanted some money quick, so he suggested to the Robinson that what he really needed was he needed £10,000 down payment to allow Robinson to take water out of the Leen at all. He then wanted £5,000 a year after that as kind of rental on the water. Robinson, not unnaturally, was upset with that arrangement and took him to court over it in 1785, took out an injunction because Byron was in a position to block off the water. Byron was living at Newstead, he'd got the Newstead lakes, he had the dams enlarged, he had the sluices enlarged to hold back more water, and he said, you'll either pay me the money or you won't get any water, or I'll just let it all go together and drown your mills. So on that basis Robinson went to court. It took 10 years before it eventually reached the House of Lords in 1795 and established a point of law which is still the point of law and still the quoted precedent, that water is a freely accessible resource. You can abstract it, but you have to leave enough in the river for the people downstream. So this is the first place anywhere in the world that a steam engine was used to drive the rotary motion of a factory. He ordered a beam engine from James Watt, Bolton and Watt, in 1785. Now, this was newfangled technology because in 1785 James Watt had only just that year patented the governor on his wheels to make it run at a particular speed. He had only just patented in that year the parallel motion that allowed the beam engine to work off a vertical cylinder. Actually overcoming the problems of this was so innovative. The first time they connected it up, it drove the machinery backwards. So they had immense problems assembling this engine and getting it to work.